year a group of Belarusian, Ukrainian and Romanian students with scholarships. So I've heard so many stories, and what strikes me even more, I knew that, but I see that as well, that this is such a rich culture in terms of history, in terms of culture. This is not some second-rate part of Europe, as people in the West sometimes think, but this is a culture which is even older than the Western European part. And that's what I sense here. There's a richness here, which is captured, of course, by the Orthodox tradition, but it's not only the Orthodox tradition, you have also other traditions. When I studied music, my favorite composers were from the East. So Mussorgsky was one of my favorites, and I've always loved to play his exhibition of paintings, where he has the bell towers of Kiev. It's the final movement, and I've studied that. It's an awfully difficult piece, and now I see all these bell towers of Kiev. I like that.
Mm-hmm. I have a strange question, but let's try to understand it and maybe to answer it. But in your opinion, can we transform somehow tolerance? Tolerance is when you just accept other person and not trying to be irritated about other person. So transform tolerance into love and true respect. How it is possible, at least on the personal level?
Mm-hmm. Well, tolerance, it is a difficult concept, because by definition you tolerate someone whom you don't like. That's tolerance. You don't like him, but you tolerate. Okay, I'm not going to kill you. I tolerate you. But I don't like you, and I'm not agreeing. I don't agree with you, and you're different. So tolerance is a minimum. It's a minimum. Allow me to be there. And the first one to formulate the principle of tolerance were Baptist ministers in Western Europe who were not tolerated. They were kicked out and they had to leave their country in Europe. And they formulated the principle of tolerance, which was taken over by the Enlightenment philosophers, Voltaire, and then it became part of the human rights. We should tolerate each other. But that's the bottom line, that's the most negative line.
Minimum.
That's the minimum. But there's also another principle that means living together. I forgot that there's a beautiful Polish word for that. I forgot it. But it means that you do things together. So when you start doing things together with the others, then tolerance becomes more than tolerance. You can start to appreciate things. You can find ways of collaboration. You can find things of common interest. And then the level of tolerance is getting up. In my mind, it is a question of doing things together, of living together, of meeting other people, getting to know them. And this is how our nations have been created. Through history, we have different tribes, different provinces. They have been forced to work together, to fight together, to live together, to build factories together, to build roads together, to go to school together. And finally, we have started to accept each other, and now you're a nation. Now you're a nation. In France, we're a nation, but we come from so many different backgrounds. I think that is the question. Can we work together? And that is the big question now in our European societies, where we are so different. Can we find areas of agreement? Can I discuss with the Muslim imam and find some areas in which we can work together? There are areas we can work together. And at that moment, we will not going to throw stones at each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that would be my answer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think it will be last question. Maybe you have something inside you, some message. Maybe I didn't ask you something, but you have something important inside you, and you can share it right now.
You make me think. What strikes me, I travel a lot in different European countries, is that the things that we take for granted now as being normal have taken such a long time to take root, and people have fought for it, they died for it, people have proclaimed it, and there was this statute of Methodius and Cyrillus on one of the places. People like that, they have come here, they have developed a language, and now it is on all the signboards, but somebody has thought about it, to give these people a language and an alphabet. Now all over Europe you find the tokens of our rich history of Europe. And today it is commonplace, especially in Western Europe, to blame Europe for everything that is wrong, but there is such a rich heritage in the history of Europe, and especially through the message of the Bible by Jews and Christians. It is everywhere. It is everywhere. Why do people stop on the road when a handicapped person crosses the road? It is normal, but it is not normal in any culture. It is normal. Has become normal because we have been taught the principle of we should care for the weak. In our constitution it is said that every man is born equal. And we find that evident. Of course, no. You go back in history, 1500 years ago, people were not equal. They killed each other. They were not equal. So it has taken a long, long time for this message of that we are all created in the image of the same God to take root. And I think my message would be that we should not forget the persons who brought this message, the source of this message, and the richness of this message, because we live every day with the fruits of this message, and it's become the basis of our society.
Mm-hmm.